Hey everybody, I hope you're doing okay. This is crazy. Thought I would update you. I know we're technically on spring break, but you know, this is a little bit of a different circumstance. So we got some news last week that there will not be the typical AP exam this year. They've canceled that, and instead they're going to do an at-home exam. So if you want to take the exam, it's free. If you don't want to take the exam, which you should, just because why not, you can opt out even if you've already ordered your exam and not have to pay for the exam. So instead of the typical 2-hour, 100 multiple choice questions, 2 FRQs that we've been talking about all year, we're going to get into a little bit of what the plan is now to try to earn your college credit and finish up the course. We're operating right now like we're going to be back in school in a couple weeks, but that does not look likely. Okay, so we'll just kind of have to just roll with it and kind of play it by ear. But I'll keep you updated in terms of what we're going to do. I'm going to try to make sure that I give you everything you need so that you can earn that college credit and get paid like we've been talking about all year. So this guy, Trevor Packer, he's the head of College Board who runs all of the AP courses and exams. He tweeted out last week that there will be no AP exams this year in any capacity in terms of face-to-face. It's going to be completely different than typical. So here's what they're saying right now. So the new AP exam, or the AP exam for this year, for 2020, will be free response questions only. There will be no multiple choice section. I don't know how many questions yet or what the questions are going to look like. We'll talk about that more in a second. The test is only going to be 45 minutes. You can take the test or the exam, I should say, on any type of device, a laptop, tablet, phone. Hopefully you heeded my warning the week before we were out to take home your laptop and your Khajiit and all that stuff. I hope you have your stuff with you at home. If not, we can make do in other ways. College Board's going to make sure that even though this is a different type of exam, that if you do pass, you'll still get your college credit and earn that $2,000 or $3,000 in tuition, and then also not even more importantly, or as important, not have to take that class or this class again next year as a college freshman, or in a couple years if you're a junior. And then you're going to have a couple of different options for dates on when you want to take the exam. We don't know when those dates are yet, but they did say there's going to be an earlier date and then a later date. Don't know what that means. We'll know on April 3rd. That's next Friday. The other big thing, since the school year is shortened, they have taken off the last 2 units of the course. And you see here on the left, the AP Psychology Real units. These are the units in the order that they suggest taking the course or teaching the course. We don't do that, unfortunately. It's never mattered before, but now we have this crazy circumstance, so it's kind of impacting us. So there will be nothing on the exam about clinical psychology, which means psychological disorders and treatment. I know we were looking forward to doing that and covering that. Hopefully we'll make it back into school and we'll be able to talk about that. But that will not come up on the exam. The other thing that's kind of a disappointment is social psychology will not come up on the exam. That's like the obedience experiment and the robber's cave and the prison experiment and fundamental attribution error and all those things we spent a lot of time on. They won't come up on the exam. Here's what will be on the exam. Unit 1, which was our Unit 1, you'll see these arrows. Like this is, on the left here, this is what AP wants us to teach. And then on the right is how I do it, or how we have done it as a class. So we did cover research methods. That's like, case study and observation versus experimentation and correlation and causation and all that good stuff. Independent, dependent variable, your favorite. Unit 2, biological bases, we covered that in depth with talking about the neuron and the parts of the brain, neurotransmitters and all that good stuff. S&P, we covered that in depth. That's Unit 3, and then it's our Unit 3 as well. Talking about the parts of the eye and the ear, and then talking about top-down processing and priming and all that good stuff. Learning, we covered that in depth. That's behaviorism, operant and classical conditioning. Cognitive psych, we covered that in depth. We actually broke that into 2 separate units, memory and cognition. That's our Unit 7 and 8. Unit 6 here on the left, like what they're recommending would be our unit that we're in now, which is development. That's when Eli and Abe were going to come into school and we're going to do a lab with them. That's the material that's currently on Schoology. You need to be in there working on that. And then lastly, motivation, emotion, and personality. Unfortunately, we did not get to motivation or emotion. We did have a unit on personality, though, which is the majority of what that unit is. But I'll be posting stuff on motivation and emotion after we cover development, right? Which right now I have due dates is April 5th. We'll look at that in a second, too. Again, what's on the exam, what's not. These last 2 units, clinical psych, which is psych disorders and treatment, and social psychology are not on the exam. Everything else is. So if you have your textbook, if you have that 5 Steps to a 5 book, you don't need to worry about covering those unless you're doing it, for your own benefit, which is fine. I know a lot of you are interested in disorders. What should you do now, right? So here we are. We're on spring break, locked into our houses, but you still should be working a little bit on AP psychology. Try to do a little bit every day. Remember, distributed practice. If you study a little bit every day, you're going to learn. You're going to learn better. You're going to remember more. It's going to help you a lot on the AP exam, and hopefully you earn your credit. So be completing the quarter 4 coursework. We'll take a look at Schoology in a second. Right now, we've got Unit 10 stuff up, development stuff, which is still going to be included on the exam. Practice writing FRQs. We said the exam this year is going to be only FRQs. Luckily, we spent a whole week writing FRQs here fairly recently, and I know we focused quite a bit on that throughout the year. So that should help us. My students in the past have typically done better on the FRQ than the nationwide average, so that should help us. This link is a link to every FRQ ever with the question and scoring rubrics and student samples. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then use study aids and exam prep resources in Schoology. I've got that posted in the materials folder in Schoology. We'll take a look at that. And then if you're bored and you just want to watch something that's psychology related, I've got this humongous list of stuff that you can do to help yourself in psychology. All right, let's take a look at some of this. Let's look at the I'm bored thing first. This is linked right there in that Google slide, and I'll link it in YouTube as well. So how to manage stress. If you're bored, you just want to watch something. If you have Netflix, there's tons of shows that are directly psych related. Hulu, it depends on what kind of streaming service you have. If you have one, like bam, 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 bam. You can take a look at all this stuff. Things to do. There's even some cool virtual tours of different museums around the world. Okay, if you're bored, do that. There was a link a second ago we saw that said every FRQ ever. Remember, the exam's going to be only FRQ. That's this link, and you can even go to the year. Now, you're going to recognize a lot of these questions because we've done them either during the FRQ week or you've seen them on AP on our unit tests, because I've used all exam questions on our test. But if you click in one of these, so I'll click on the 2018. I've already got it pulled up. This gives you the 2 questions that were on this exam. This is from 2018. So Jackie's been chosen for a lead role in a school play. She's both nervous and excited about this opportunity. I think we saw that one when we did the FRQ week. So how would the following help her? Context-dependent memory, acetylcholine, kinesthetic sense, selective attention. How would these hurt her? So I know some of the stuff we haven't covered yet. This is a great way to go in and maybe hit some of the major concepts that AP likes to use. They tend to use the same things over and over again. So doing these practice FRQs will really help you hit the more important terms, and at least in terms of what AP likes to use. So you've got that. That's the question. Go in and answer a question. Take 20 minutes, right? Here's the scoring guidelines. This is all open to you. So if I click on that, I've already got that pulled up here. Go into that question. There's the question we just looked at. And then context-dependent memory. Did you get that right? Score. Jackie knows that she should rehearse her role on the stage on which the play will actually take place to do her best in her performance. Again, context-dependent memory is you tend to remember things in the same context where the memory was formed. So when you go to Kings Island, you tend to remember other times you were at Kings Island or whatever the case may be. We also talked about the funny, like you thought about getting something out of your room. You're sitting on the couch, you run upstairs, like, hey, what was I doing up here? You got to go back down to the couch, the same context in which you initially remembered, in order to like jog your memory, context-dependent memory. Write that out and get in here and see if you would score it or not. It's super, super, super helpful, a very efficient way to study. And again, get paid. Like you're making $2,000 or $3,000, you pass this exam. 45 minutes for $2,000. Come on. You can do it. So that's one good efficient way to study. If we pop into Schoology here, not sure why my calendar is not coming up. Schoology's acting a little funky. This is Withrow's page. Okay, so this is what you'll see now. You've got the stuff for Unit 10 up, which includes things that you got before we went on break. It was good we could kind of anticipate being canceled. So here's my Mac notes. Here is one of the organizers you got. And you have a hard copy of that. Here's the second one with my Mac notes, and even like some. This is stuff we would have done in class, so you can kind of go through there and learn about development. Even more straightforward. Here's your 2 video assignments for this unit, and then as Ava's screaming upstairs, and then here's the notes. You got those in class as well. Let me click into materials. One more thing. So here are those study aids and exam review. So here are 3 released exams. You can get in there and do practice. Now, again, there's not a multiple choice section on the exam this year, so it's still a good way to cover a lot of topics quickly. Here's exam info. That's written before we knew all this was going to go down, so kind of take that with a grain of salt. Here's every AP Psych term defined, every FRQ ever. But I think you can just use these past exam questions. That would be better to use. Back in the materials here. Here are all the units, including obviously disorders and treatment and social psychology. You can kind of cross off. But here are the other units, and these include, and we'll just go to Unit 10 because that's what we're in now. These include links back to my Mac notes, which are helpful. A lot of times I'll throw in here like links to videos, links to your notes. There's an infographic, all that good stuff. Like that'll help for Unit 10. Hopefully, again, you took home your textbook and you have that as well. You can order that 5 Steps to a 5 book. I'll put a link up on Schoology for like get one from last year, and it's less than $10, maybe even less than $5. And that's a really helpful thing if you didn't grab one of those from your school. Some of you already have it. So I don't know. Feel free to contact me. You've got my number or email, or you can message me. I've been on that quite often. And hopefully you're doing all right. I'm thinking about you, actually. I miss my students. I miss seeing you guys every day. I hope you're doing okay, and let me know if you're not, or if you need a little help with anything. I'm going to update you again, definitely on April 3rd. That's the day that we're going to find out what exactly the exam dates are and what's going to happen there, if not before then. Okay? Peace.